Hey guys, it's Nick back for another video, and today we have got Billy. He is, I believe, the most recent testimonial on Matt's channel, and today we're going to talk about the differences between doing PPC as a freelancer and PPC at an agency. And I thought this would be valuable because, as some of you guys know, I've never actually worked in like a formal agency environment. I've only done a freelance environment, whereas Billy has. So I thought his perspective would also be useful to you guys because a lot of you guys are going to end up working at an agency. So Billy, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right. So just in case they haven't seen your testimonial, just give them a little overview of like what you were doing before the course and what you're doing now.
Yeah, so just real quick, I was studying mechanical engineering at a junior college. I had been there for a few years, had a few years coming. So I don't know, I kind of fell out of that interest, I guess, and started looking for alternatives. So I got into some entrepreneurial type stuff and started an Amazon business. That led to me finding Seth's course when looking at like private label marketing. And so I took Seth's course, ended up really enjoying it, and then kind of decided to pursue that as a career and worked out.
So anyway, so now you're working at an agency. I guess the first thing is, what exactly do you do at the agency? Do you like analyze the accounts? Do you manage them directly? Like, what's your day-to-day like?
Yeah, so my position is a PPC associate. So I work under an account manager, and then the account manager works under a team lead. So it's kind of a tiered approach. I would be considered an entry-level position. And so typically what happens is the account manager and I will sit together through all the meetings and whatnot, but the manager has kind of the final say in strategy and like what we're prioritizing as far as optimizing the campaigns and updates and stuff like that. So they basically delegate tasks to us, and then we, implement most of like the hands-on stuff. And then if during reporting week and stuff like that, we'll go through and look for any like insights or any kind of issues that are going on, document them, bring them up to the account manager's attention, and then we work together to create strategy to fix it.
Okay, so the account manager is like kind of like the big boss. He's the one who like strategizes and actually thinks about what changes to make to the account. You're the one that like analyzes it and actually makes those changes once you guys have decided on it. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's kind of like it's a team effort for sure. So there's a lot of back and forth discussion, but the account manager is the kind of senior decision maker. So he has final say. So anything that we want to do, we run through them. And with the structure of the agency that I work at, I actually work with multiple account managers on different accounts. So each account for the most part has its own manager.
Okay. And you mentioned that it's like a team effort as far as reporting. And like, I'm very curious, what is the reporting like? Like, what kind of metrics do you go over? Because personally, as a freelancer, what I do is, my particular clients, they're not really marketing savvy. They don't care about a lot of these metrics. So I usually just do like PowerPoint presentations, and I tell them, okay, look, here's a screenshot from the account. We spent this much on ads. We made this much in return. This is our click-through rate, so we're getting people's attention. This is what I want to do next month. So how is an agency environment different from that or similar?
Yeah, so I mean, the concept is the same. They want to know, what kind of return they're getting for their money, obviously. So we have to provide that for them. But the key thing with an agency is we have to show our value when we're speaking with a client and reporting on what we're doing, to show like, this is why you're working with us and why you're not working with somebody else. So our analyses and our reporting go really in depth because we work with pretty large clients, like enterprise level clients. So a simple report for me will take anywhere from 2 to 4 hours to get through. So it gets really in depth. We go very granular. A lot of them are broken out to multiple countries, different regions, different products. We'll go as deep as like, competitor analyses, like mentioning that sort of thing in a report, like, this competitor has bumped up 10% impression share and that dropped this. So there's a lot of like, what happened? Why is it important? How does it affect the bottom line? What are we going to do about it? Like stuff like that going on.
There we go. Okay. So it seems like your guys' reporting is a lot more in depth than mine. And I feel like would you agree that a lot of it depends on the client as well? Because some clients really care about this stuff, but others really don't. So do you kind of tailor your reports to the client at all, or is it all like a pretty standard template that you guys follow?
Yeah, it's definitely tailored to the client because even in some of these bigger accounts that are spending, 6 figures a month, some of those people have no idea what impression share is and they don't even care. So they just want to know, you know, how many people are coming in, how many conversions they're making, how many leads they're generating, and that sort of thing. We still have to go kind of in depth just out of like company procedure or company best practices. Um, but we don't have to get as granular with those kind of clients. They kind of just want a general overview because a lot of them are like marketing managers who oversee like different departments. So I have one client, for example, that's 9 separate accounts, and each one of those accounts has its own like point of contact, POC. And then there's one person who kind of oversees all of it. And so I report to her, and then she will divvy out the report to the others. But they don't really have, technical background. So they just want to know, are we bringing in traffic? Is it quality? Are they converting? That sort of thing.
So wait, you said this one client has multiple different Google Ads accounts. Like, really quickly, like I've heard of that a few times. What is like the benefit to doing that as opposed to having all the campaigns under just one big account and putting like a bid management software on it or something?
So those 9 accounts are under one MCC. So the company has its own big account, and then it has like little branches out, but each branch has its own budgets, has its own, campaign type, campaign like goals. And so they just kind of split them out by department because it's very different branches of this business. So they keep them separate. They all have different credit cards and all that kind of stuff, different, income or not income, but payment sources.
That must be a big company then.
It's pretty large.
So pretty much it's like because of the nature of the company, like big companies that have a ton of different departments, some of which don't have a lot to do with each other. They kind of need their own thing, okay, that makes a little more sense because I mean, I guess compared to the stuff you manage, I'm kind of small potatoes in the amount of spend I manage. But I guess it's kind of interesting, like how differently account setup changes a little bit once you get into these bigger accounts. I mean, a lot of things, as I understand, are still the same. Like just because your client is spending, I don't know, 6 figures a month on Google Ads, that does not mean they suddenly get to use broad match keywords or send people to the home page instead of a landing page.
Right.
That at least hope that's true, because if you're sending, like, I don't want to give away any of the course, but if you're using broad match keywords, you are in trouble.
Most of the time, yeah.
But so with accounts like that, how many different accounts do you take on? Like how many different clients are you handled in your particular position?
Yeah, so currently I have 5 clients of my that are like my responsibility as a support. But it can vary, kind of depends on hours and like so with an agency, it's very dependent on their monthly spend. And then whatever their monthly spend is determined how many hours you're allowed to work on that account or give them to make sure the company stays profitable. So if you have a bunch of like really small accounts, you might end up with 7, 7 or 8. But if they're larger and they're more time consuming, then, 5 or 6 accounts is pretty normal. But it is common for other agencies that I've seen that do a lot of like small spend accounts, and one person can be on 20 different accounts. It gets crazy. But at that point, it gets kind of like sketchy as far as, how effective are they actually being?
Because I mean, the cool thing about Google Ads is that small businesses can still do it. But at the same time, you do have to be spending a certain baseline for it to actually do anything.
Right.
So in your particular agency, what do they consider like a small, low spend account?
So I believe our agency has a minimum of $3,500 a month to manage. I think that's it. I think that's the minimum. So that minimum will go like in a range. It'll like you have to spend at least $3,500 up to a certain point, and then it switches to like a percentage after that.
A percentage of
ad spend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, it seems it's kind of interesting. 35. That's almost a full-time employee right there. I mean, I work with a lot of low spend accounts, like, around 1,000 a month. The lowest I've seen is like 100 a month.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, my specialty is kind of low accounts because that's just mostly what I've been working on. And for you guys watching at home, it's okay if this isn't a six-figure company that you're generating with your experience with. Most of your accounts are going to be low volume, especially when you're starting out. But,
Yeah,
I think,
definitely.
I don't know, but at $100 a month, like you really don't have any room to breathe. I can't even make that work.
No.
Like,
My
especially,
first account build ever, because I actually started out freelancing on Upwork as well after Seth's course, or during Seth's course even. But my first account was like a $500 a month budget, and it was a build from scratch. But that was enough to like bring in data, but it was enough for me to be like, this is not a good idea. We should probably stop this campaign and go on Facebook.
right. Or at least tell the client, like, okay, look, we can get a little bit of results, but if you really want to be operating like the best, if you want this thing to be operating at its max potential, you got to bump up the budget.
Right.
Like the only exception is, one of my clients, it's a music software client. They spend less than $1,000 a month. It actually works for them due to the nature of the keywords, but that is the only reason it works.
Yeah.
Like, like you said, if ever they have more ad spend available, I just tell them to put it into Facebook ads because there is more volume there.
Yeah. And it really depends on the goal of the campaign as well. And like what type of, effort you're putting in, because if you're trying to do like sales or something like a sales product, it's going to take a lot longer. You're going to have a lot less conversion volume. It's going to be a lot more expensive than for, example, somebody who was just trying to do an awareness campaign and get leads or downloads. That might be a lot easier and a lot cheaper. So it just kind of varies too, client to client.
Yeah. Especially like low volume's kind of funny though, because percentages don't mean as much. It's a lot more volatile. Like sometimes I'm like, oh crap, the click through rate's down 5%. Oh wait, that's only 2 clicks. I'm not gonna chase after 2.
Yeah.
But so it seems like one of the major differences between a freelancing environment versus an agency environment is that things are a lot more systemized and that there are a lot more different roles that go into managing an account. You went into this a little bit earlier at the beginning of the video, but can you give us kind of an overview of how your agency does it as far as structure?
Yeah. So you have your associate, which is the, entry level position. This goes for analytics, SEO, and paid. So it's associate, and then you get bumped up to a senior associate, and then you get to a manager level. And then from manager level, you go senior manager, and then you go team lead. And then you can go senior team lead, and then you go associate director, and then you can go director. So it just goes duk, 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 and like you just keep climbing the ladder.
There we go. So wait, that's like at least like 5 different roles?
It's a lot, yeah. And like the company that I'm at currently, they're like constantly creating different positions. Like we just created a strategy specialist or a lead strategist position who kind of is working on the integration between all the teams. So they would oversee, a group of managers and team leads to kind of explain to the client the integration between data strategy, SEO, PPC, and how we're all like working together holistically. So things are constantly being created. It's not like set in stone.
Okay. And one of the things about being freelancing, as we've kind of discussed, is like if you're a freelancer, it's usually it's like all your call. Like I'm technically the digital marketing manager for one of my clients because I do their Google ads and I've expanded into Facebook ads. But there's more moving pieces there. Would you say that compared to freelancing, that sometimes I don't want to call it bureaucracy, but kind of having more hoops to jump through can get in the way, or does it actually help like the ROAS or stuff overall? Like in terms of like being practical in terms of managing it.
Yeah. So my agency that I work for is very unique in how easygoing it is. It's not like a typical corporate situation. It's not like I don't have access to anyone I want. Like at any moment I could send a message to, the CEO of the company and he would get back to me within a day. Like it's not, it's not a there's no like the directors and the CEO even will come and sit at the same exact desks that we sit at. Like they'll sit right next to us. They don't go and like have an office, with a view or anything like that. Like everyone's treated as an equal, and it's just like a different component of the team. So this agency specifically is really good, and there's not a whole lot of that. The benefit to working at an agency is how quickly you will learn, because it's not just one person doing something. So if you come into like an account and you come into some sort of a roadblock that you just cannot solve, you can just quickly like ping a chat, and then all of a sudden you'll get like 100 different responses of things to look at or things to check on. Another benefit of an agency is there's templates built out for any sort of like analysis or like deliverable that you could think of. And so at any time, if you have a situation, it's likely someone else has already experienced it and can walk you through it real quick. So it's actually, faster in that sense if you come into something that's kind of difficult.
So it's like the collaboration. It's like it could be more moving things, but you kind of solve that by having it very open. Whereas in some other agencies, it could be like, oh crap, I need this thing approved. I need he's out. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that still does happen too. Like as an associate, when I put together a deliverable or something like that, like it has to be reviewed by the manager. And then oftentimes if it's a big deal, like a monthly report is bigger than a weekly report. So a monthly report gets reviewed by my manager. And then after she like makes suggestions or whatever, I'll edit it. And then we send it to the team lead for a final approval. So like a process like that could take, 2 days depending on their workload. But it's usually not anything that's super urgent. And if it's like a real big deal and we need it done now, like someone else will step in of a leadership role and they'll take care of it. So things don't typically get pushed too far back.
Okay. So it's like, so you're not quite as like small and nimble and as like responsive as you could be if you just do it by yourself. But
Right.
one, you can kind of mitigate that with the way your agency is set up. But also the main benefit is that there's just more collaboration. So problems could theoretically get solved faster.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what helps the clients, right?
Right. And then another benefit is there's a lot less errors made because everything that is being set live, like if you're doing a new campaign build and you've got 10, 15 campaigns that you're launching at one time, they get like QA'd, so quality is assured, by multiple people before it goes live. So we even have like special sheets that we've created that are, that pull in Google's backend, and they'll run through it and they'll make sure that all your campaign settings are set to what you want them to. And if it's not, like it'll flag it and be like, you need to check this and fix it. And then that gets sent over to somebody else who gets sent over to somebody else. So there's a lot of like checks in place to make sure things are constantly running smooth.
Okay. It probably helps clients, like if like the salespeople trying to close new clients, like it's not just one person. It's like, I think subconsciously a lot of, especially business owners, trust you more if it's like, oh yeah, it's a whole team of people that know what they're doing. Although one thing, like you obviously don't have to go into detail here, but one thing that a lot of my other digital marketing friends have noticed is that when it comes to digital marketing, not only do a lot of people outside the industry not understand what we do, but a lot of people that have been in this industry for, in some cases, longer than Sets has, don't even know what they're doing. Has that been true in your experience, whether it's at an agency or freelancing?
Freelancing, I would say it's more likely. The agency that I work at, it makes a really strong effort to keep everyone up to date. So anything that's new is like brought to our attention immediately. So things here like adjust really fast. They adapt really quickly. But out in the freelance world, I did work with, a couple other agency owners. And there's some best practices that are not being made or, that sort of thing. People do get stuck in their ways.
That just happens no matter what. Like, kind of funny. Like I remember I found this one agency owner on Upwork. He ran a Google Ads and Facebook Ads agency, but one, he didn't know how to do it himself. He didn't know the specifics. He was asking me about that. And obviously I'm not going to reveal his name, but he basically said, yeah, the reason we're on the phone is because I just brought on a client for Google Ads, but I don't know anything about it and I don't have anyone.
Yeah. I mean, that works for some people.
Still though, it's like my thought is like, if you don't even know how to do the thing you're hiring other people to
Yeah.
do, how do you know that the person you're hiring knows what they're doing? Or if they make a mistake, it'll be on you to fix it. But if you can't do that, that's a
Right.
problem. So we've talked about so far like the benefits of working at an agency versus freelancing. In your experience, what have some kind of been, what are some drawbacks of working at an agency versus freelancing?
Um, I think there's less flexibility for sure. Like you can't just go wherever you want, whenever you want. Again, my company's a little different because we have the ability to work remote. It's not like a, long-term thing, but if you wanted to go for 2 weeks or whatever and go travel, that's fine. But at a typical agency, you probably don't have the flexibility to make your own hours. So you probably have to be there at a specific time, get your work done. I think that as a freelancer, if you don't work 40 hours in a week, it's cool. It's whatever you like, you're not really worried about it. But at an agency, there's an expectation that you're putting in, a certain amount of time, stuff like that. I don't know. I think there is a lot of positives to certain agencies and a lot of negatives to more like corporate, those structure agencies, which I don't have a whole lot of experience in, so I can't really speak too much to those. But I think probably flexibility and just flexibility in general.
Right. And crap, I lost my train of thought there. And I guess another thing about working at an agency in general is just the fact that you're part of a team and you're around people that actually, ideally will know what they're talking about. Whereas if you're a freelancer, it really depends on where you live. Because, I'm in the middle of Pullman, which is a college town, and there aren't exactly a lot of people here who know digital marketing. So it can get a little bit isolating. At least in an agency, you're part of a team and you get to hang out with those people every day. But I think it's nice for these guys watching at home that there are benefits to both. And, you hear some people working remotely, living the digital nomad lifestyle. That's cool, but there's also plenty of opportunities at an agency. You can do it the regular way, especially if you want to be part of a team and to learn a lot. But do you have anything else you want to say about freelancing versus an agency?
I think a common thing with freelancing is a lot of people do get kind of lonely after a while, or they'll get bored of just chilling at their same spot. So if you have like a co-working space around you, like a WeWork or something like that, those are really cool. I know a lot of people who there are a couple of people that I work with that are remote, and they choose to go work in co-working spaces like that because there's people around. But if you are a freelancer, going to those sorts of places are also good for opportunities because oftentimes people are there building their own little businesses and you network with these people and they hire you on sometimes, or you'll do, contract work. So I think those are really good for freelancers. Ideally for me, in the future, I don't know, 4 or 5 years down the road, I would like to build something of my own. I think having a foundation with an agency is really helpful for advancing your skills at like an accelerated level and getting exposure to larger accounts that maybe you wouldn't be able to hit just being a freelancer like from the beginning. So I feel like when you have that kind of a resume built up, it's going to help you if you want to be a freelancer in the long term, because you can then go to these clients and be like, yes, I've managed, 6-figure accounts that take a team of 5. And I know these people who are on my team are going to be able to handle that. So, if you wanted to start your own little agency or whatever.
Right. That's what a lot of people from the course say that their goal is.
Yeah.
Obviously don't say that during the interview process, but that's what a lot of people try to do down the line.
Yeah. And I think the agency in general, it gives you like a picture of how, like if an agency is what your goal is, working at one will show you like the processes that need to be in place in order to be effective on these accounts with multiple people.
Well, there you go. All right, Billy, thank you so much for your time and being on the show. If you guys want to get in touch with Billy directly, I'll drop a link to his LinkedIn and also his testimonial on Matt's channel, just so you can check that out. But thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.